everybody. Welcome from the sunny Evesham. For those that have been following the TMC Costin with Sean Thompson and Billy Doyle, we have a quick update for you. So stay tuned. Hope you enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Jim and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking another look at the automotive legend Frank Costin. He was born on the 8th of June in 1920 and passed away on the 5th of February in 1995. Amongst his many engineering achievements, he was renowned for his advanced monocoque chassis designs and for adapting aircraft aeronautical knowledge to automotive use. Throughout his career, he was also involved in a number of projects for various manufacturers, including Lister, Lotus, Marques, Maserati, and more. In today's episode, we will focus on the remarkable little TMC Costin. Join us today as we explore the history and the legacy of this iconic little car.
And a word about TMC. The Thompsons of County Wexford, Ireland, were a farming family with 6 sons. One son, Peter Thompson, embarked on an engineering career with Philip Pearce and Company in Wexford and later with the Timony Research Centre. Eventually, 2 more of the Thompson brothers were hired to work at Timony, Val Thompson as a financial controller and Sean Thompson as a design technician. In March 1983, Peter, Val and Sean, along with a 4th brother, Anthony, established a new company to build cars, the Thompson Manufacturing Company, TMC. Peter Thompson asked engineer and aerodynamicist Frank Costin to design the company's first car, the TMC Costin. In addition to designing the car itself, Frank Costin was to develop the tooling and jigs needed to build it in exchange for a 10% royalty on each car sold. Conceptually, the TMC Costin was intended to be an improvement on the Lotus 7. The TMC Costin was described as the first road racing car built in Ireland. Let's jump in and discover the engineering prowess of Frank Costin with Sean Thompson and pay a visit to Billy Doyle's shed as he continues with his TMC Costin restoration. And before we get started, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button and add a like. It really helps spread the word.
It started back in about 1981, 82, because my 2 brothers, Peter and Val, and myself, we worked for a company north of Dublin in Navan, where we were working at a company called Adtech Chornta or Timony Research, and where we were an Irish company supported by the University of Dublin, where we were just especially designing military equipment, armored personnel carriers, jeeps, trucks, and fire engines. And Frank was taken in, I think, about 6 months after I started there as a junior design engineer. And my brother Peter was a senior design engineer, and my other brother was an accountant at the company. My interest in motorsport was just watching the local rally around Ireland and stuff like this, and going for weekends and stuff. And then I was then assigned to Frank as his assistant, where he came up with schematics, and then I turned his schematics into more like final proposals, and then ultimately into final drawings of suspension systems for the armored cars, the fire engines, the trucks, and then obviously did all the detailed work. So then we kept the same hours as the factory, and so we worked from 8 till 4:30. And then at 4:35, we closed our books and started talking about racing cars. So then Frank taught me about race car suspension, aerodynamics, ground effects and stuff like this, And then after about a year or so, we started, my brothers especially, started talking to him about the concept of the car idea, which I wasn't involved in it at this early stage of the design project, because I was only a young man and I was having fun.
And I was going to say, I've seen one of the best quotes, I think, from Frank Costin, and it was when he was working at Lotus, I think it was. His quote was, "Applied aerodynamics is a combination of knowing physical laws, a great deal of experience, and the right feel." And I think that just sums sums it up. And I know he's done a lot. He did a lot of work for de Havilland on the Mosquito plane as well. So very clever bloke.
Yeah, because he remember him telling me that when he was dragged into Lotus, effectively what he said, that again he had no interest in race cars. And then when they asked him to come in, they started ground effects and aero started coming into Formula One and stuff, that he had to start thinking about it, So, okay, this is relatively just what I'm doing, and you turn it upside down, and to get downforce instead of lift. And he started applying his schematics and stuff to that, and ultimately made the cars go faster. And so, yeah, he definitely, seeing him perched over his, because we did, in those days, everything was by hand. I still had my own manual drawing board here in my office, and everything was done by hand. He had his slide rule out. You never saw him without a cigarette in his mouth, and on his desk beside him was a liter of gin and tonic, and even during normal working days he had his bottle of gin and tonic on the desk there. Whenever he was thinking of something, he just sit back in his like a rocking chair and smoking cigarettes and thinking of concepts and stuff, and sipping a gin and tonic even during lunchtime. And so we became quite good friends. I was with him for like 4 or 5 years. I think he was a bit of an enigma, a little bit before his time. I think if somebody the equivalent of him now is Adrian Newey, And,
that's exactly the impression I got reading through his work that he'd done. And the sheer scope of work that he'd done. I mean, he did work for JCB. He did work for de Havilland. A whole Supermarine he did work for as well. And he even designed his own plane. He was into his lightweight planes as well, wasn't he?
He definitely was always his I would say his keen instinct was always about, the anything to do with airplanes or gliders or anything to do with wing shapes and stuff like this. If you asked him to get involved in that was where his passion was. Yeah. Everything else paid the bills at times, and I can't say I got the impression from him that he was so super excited about the military equipment stuff we did, the Jeeps had got in more excited that we did, getting the suspension and stuff and that, chassis and stuff, Yeah, but yeah, I can't say the military side of it was a big, strong input from him, except on the suspension side, because we did independent suspension all around, stuff like this, inboard disc brakes and stuff like this,
On looking back, and at the first time that TMC Costin was put out in a racing format, were you surprised at how quickly it took off, and how quickly it started to win?
Maybe not really, because we're a bit naive from that point of view, But the fact is that we brought it in so light.
Yeah.
Could be the first car to be raced only did one race, because that was the last round in the championship that we were striving to get it ready for, which is the big event, and a live TV event and stuff like this. And so we built it just for that one, and we're still building it the morning of the race,
Wow.
And there's so many stories about that. The driver was injured. Because we were late arriving in Mondello at the paddock and stuff like this, the gates were closed, and there's a type of racetrack where you have to drive across the track to get to the inner paddock before bridges and tunnels became involved. Actually, it's still the same to this day. Actually, you have to wait until between sessions and events to be allowed like a 5-minute window to cross the track and things. And but I never forget that John Keeney, the driver, wearing his typical blue racing suit and his peak cap, a bit like Colin Chapman looked like. He jumped over the fence and ran into the tower and stuff, to plead with the guys to finish this session early so we could get across. And the result of him jumping in, he broke his big toe on his foot, and,
Wow.
And didn't say anything to anybody about it, And we did the practice to qualify in the race and everything, and it's only afterwards that he said to his wife, "Oh, I think my toe's broken. I think we need to get it fixed," And because everybody was so wrapped up in the whole thing, and. Absolutely, and then the next year, then we built a car. I built a new car from scratch. Again, a new chassis where I took some liberty with reducing some weight and things on the chassis and stuff, and even to this day, that car still exists, and with a roll cage that is probably a bit dubious, and certainly wouldn't pass current regulations, and but we got the car down to 500 kilos, with driver and fuel and ready to run.
With driver as well. Wow.
Can I ask you, Sean, moving right along, after you made the decision to sell your interest in TMC and it was purchased and moved over to Panoz, you were still involved? I think you mentioned with their project. Is that right?
Yeah, I stayed involved for about a year afterwards. Because what really killed it for us here in Ireland was when the DeLorean scandal hit. Okay?
Oh my God!
Because up to that point, we pretty much considered all the cars we built at this stage were prototypes, okay, and design developments, and we're making each one better and better and better. And I have to say, the last 5-6 cars that we built were pretty damn good, and a testament is to some of them that are still out there that look really
still
good,
doing very, very well on the track.
Exactly, and for the project to continue. We needed to have a big investment in funds, and here in Ireland at the time there's still a company called the IDA, the Irish Development Authority, and so we pitched to them a proposal to expand and whatever, and like back in those days in '86, I think it was, that it was like in excess of $1 million. I can't remember what currency punts it was at that time, And they gave us approval for the funds, okay, but we had to supplement it with, I think, 10% that we had to, as a group, put in personally to top off what the government were going to put into the project. And at this time is when DeLorean scandal hits.
Wow.
All phones were cut off, all communication with the government, everybody, banks, stopped overnight. That was the final nail for it. That obviously had a knock-on effect to us, and at the same time, then obviously Danny Panoz was here in Ireland, getting involved in it because his wife is from Galway, Danny's wife Melanie and stuff, and he was a bit of he's a funny character. I mean, I liked him, don't get me wrong, but he was he's a bit like Billy, a huge enthusiastic fan, and rather than he knew nothing about making. He didn't have two hands to cut a piece of tubing or anything, and but we built I copied all the drawings and files and chassis and stuff, and then I went out to Georgia for about 4 months out there, and I did some changes to suspension geometry to use the uprights that they wanted to use, which wasn't so difficult. And then I helped to. Did they go all Ford components? I know I think one of the first things they did was shoehorn a big 5-litre V8 in, which then they dropped it down to the 4.6. But that must have taken quite a bit of chassis redesigning to squeeze one of them in. Not too much, mainly at the bottom of the chassis, a few things had been moved, but the gearbox, the manual gearbox at the time, was actually even slimmer than the one we were using, so therefore I could move tubes around and actually gain some stiffness back in around the gearbox area because the gearbox was smaller. The connection with Ford came because I think it was 85, 86. 85, I think it was. When we were going to America, I went to Detroit and I met with Ford in Detroit, and I came away from. At that stage, they didn't have the modern engine coupled up to a rear-wheel drive format. They were just starting to launch the front-wheel drive Escorts and Fiestas and stuff. So I came away from there with them putting a crew onto building the XR3 into the rear-wheel drive format that we now see today in the Sierras and like afterwards,
So coming back to TMC Costin, how many do we reckon are still in existence? I think I've seen various figures that it was less than 50 or 24, but I think we found about 15, 16.
Either 16 that are knowledgeable, that are either in storage, being in restoration mode, something like this. I mean, there was we built more than 50 chassis, okay, but some kits were some projects were sold as kit cars, and the owners never finished them. But I mean, registered on the road cars was like close to 40 cars that were actually registered on the road, finished driving at some point, and I think there's a big surge in interest at the moment for people who are trying to get their hands on. I mean, I'm sure Billy gets asked, and he's asking me and things to. For people who are, Jay, if you ever come across one of those, let me know and I'll buy it type thing, But
I was going to say, this is what I said at the start. There's a hell of a lot of interest in TMC Costins that you see comments pop up again, and it's all, where can I get one? But I didn't know that much about
not
it.
there. Yeah. For me as an enthusiast,
and you are an enthusiast, supreme.
Sean's mum was teaching me in second class when they were building cars, so I was only 10 years of age, and I love cars, toy cars, obviously. But I was there, and I asked her about them that then. She said, "Yeah, they're building cars," and that's as much as she told me at the time. And I only saw one then. Probably it could have been a year later, because it wouldn't have been down around the village to see them or anything. You wouldn't see them that often, and they always thought I'd love one. And then I saw one at Crosstown filling station. It was the main service petrol station. And I was blown away. I was in the car with my mum coming home, and I saw it. And I hadn't seen the sports car in early 80s in real life. And I just fell in love with it. And then I just, as you do, you grow up and you get on with life and all. And I always thought, and especially that you mentioned Cork and your family from Cork and all, but me as a family man, then, as I was driving to Cork, to Killarney on my holidays, let's say, right, with my caravan and the usual stuff, I always wondered where did the Murphy's Irish Stout car end up down in Cork, because that's where it was brewed. Murphy's Irish Stout were from Cork, and I said, wouldn't it be amazing to find it? And
wow,
lo and behold, I found a Costin about 14 years ago. Yeah, about 12 or 13 years ago, but I couldn't afford it at the time. It was in bits, and I offered everything bar enough money, and this guy was selling it for a friend. But anyway, I lost contact with him, and I just kind of gave up. And not till a friend of ours then, that Michael, he bought one in 2020, and it reignited me. I literally buried it and just got into Volkswagens, because I knew I thought I'd never ever get one.
Never get a Costin,
Yeah, and for the way you watch Indiana Jones, you think the Temple of Doom, finding that treasure, you know what I mean? You drive around. I would have been driving around delivering stuff.
Sounds like a restoration.
No, but you know what I mean. Finding that ultimate treasure, as an enthusiast, right?
Yeah, and especially like a barn find that nobody knows what they've got. Yeah. Offer them 500 quid. I'll pick it up now. Yeah.
Yeah. If only it was that. But to find then a car that was built in your village, right? And lo and behold, it was the guy who wanted the Murphy's Irish Stout car had my car. He had found it on the internet 3 years before that. But the guy that had it before him had it for 8 years. So it hasn't seen the road in probably 20 odd years. It was in England for 10 years. And then it was brought back here.
One thing I have seen on one of the write-ups on TMC Costin was the size of the boot, but there was there was also an option to put a tub in the back, so you could actually have two rear-facing seats
for the kids.
children.
Yeah.
So I have never seen any pictures of that yet. I can't find any, but that young kids, that must have been an absolute blast.
I never seen it. How about you, Sean?
No, there's never been a picture with kids in it, but I have carried a passenger in the boot on many occasions. I was dating this lady from Dublin, and whenever she came down, obviously you have to think back 40 years ago, parents are a bit more strict back then, than they are now. And for my girlfriend to come down and spend the weekend here at my parents' house, she was only allowed to come down if she could take her friend with her, and so then
like a chaperone, yeah.
Exactly. So three of us into a two-seater sports car, I tell you this much. We did a lot of traveling, with her and the girl. She was slim and she had no issue, stretching her leg over the back, able to do the tailgate open, getting in. We had cushions in there for her to sit on.
Yeah,
she was fine. There was no regulations those days about mandatory seatbelts and stuff like this. But we go out to the pub, we go out for dinner, we go out anywhere for a cruise, and she'd be in the booth.
So, Billy, what have you got in your garage?
I'm going to switch Billy into the picture right now.
I need to turn this around. How do I turn this around?
Right,
I'll just do it this way. Like,
yeah. Okay.
Now, that'll do. That'll do it. Yeah. So coming in the door, and I have my car sitting pretty. I bought it in January.
I was going to say, looking at that, because it's pretty much all fiberglass apart from the alley side panels, wasn't it?
Yeah. I bought it in January 21, and it was a car, but it was underneath. It was a lot of bars were rotten. I'd say I had lived in a yard or something. I wasn't kept inside anyway.
I think you said you replaced about 50 foot worth of tube, haven't you?
Yeah. There's the suspension bits I've sprayed today.
Was that especially for the show?
No. This is especially to get me back into it because I've cleaned up the shed just to, the way when you go away from a project, you leave it.
John, I think it's especially for the car. Can I ask you, Billy? Can I ask you, Billy, a question? When you got the car, when you received the car, was it stripped down to its space frame, and then you're in the process of reassembly now, or what?
No. When I bought the car, it was complete. Now there was no engine or gearbox in it, so I had to locate them first and foremost. So I bought the engine off Sean, and which was out of a Costin, and I got the gearbox then.
What engine and gearbox you going with?
Type 9 5-speed gearbox, and the engine then is a CVH. The engine is a CVH. It came out of one of the last Costins made.
So that's what they ended. A lot of them ended up with CVH engines. Well, apart from the Ford twin cams as well. But yeah, nice. Yeah,
Sean is doing his own project, so I bought his engine and he didn't need it. So it saved me an awful lot of hassle trying to, because I literally, when I bought the car, I loved the idea of having one, but I hadn't a clue about them. I didn't know Sean Thompson. I knew of Sean Thompson. I heard of their brothers. The only guy I knew was Michael, and he would have been telling me the stories when he was obviously in his 20s, having the crack on race days and different good times, and I was just listening to those stories, which kind of engraved in me, Jesus, imagine having one of these cars from your own village and getting a chance to own this and do it up.
That shot you've got there, I can see all the chassis rails, and that's how Frank got he's got 3 triangulation bits for the car.
Oh, that beautiful triangulation. It's amazing. Yeah.
So it reduces all the flexing in the middle between the front and the back of the car.
Isn't it? I mean, it's
absolute work of art.
Sean, is that all square?
If you look at the picture, if you look at the shot Billy is showing you now, the interior, you see that raised chassis section in the middle where effectively the underside of your knees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Car, because in any kind of open cockpit car, you have all the torsional rigidity is lost in the middle because obviously you need to have occupants in the car. So Frank came up with this concept here to raise the center part because it was in a dead area anyway, because obviously you need to sit in the car. So this amazingly increase the torsional stiffness of the car, and we had a university graduate did a wireframe torsional stiffness check in UCD on the car, and it was amazing how much that section added to the torsional stiffness, of the car.
I was going to say, and what were the aluminium side panels will add a little bit? Are they riveted on or bonded on? Well, it would have been riveted on, I would assume, in the old days.
Bonded on the side. Bonded on the side,
yeah.
Yeah, and
riveted along the top here.
It's similar, similar to what GBS are doing. They're bonding all there. Well, it's all aluminium on the side of GBS cars. Mm-hmm. Our MK's fiberglass, but
the bonding available now is obviously much better than the bonding then,
Yeah.
But there's the back of the car. I have the back.
So the rear suspension.
You don't have the rumble seat back there.
No.
I'm gonna see if I can find some pictures on that. I know I read it somewhere.
I know. John is. I think
that was just a sales pitch now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was wondering.
But so that's. I said some of the car is still living up there. But I just stuck the nose cone on it today, all right, just to see what was lining up like and stuff. But
it's not looking too bad. That's looking all right.
Hi guys. sorry, it's been a while since I was in contact, but as you know, life and busy, and I've been tipping away at the car. So I've got on really well. I think anyway. I primed this and stuff only yesterday. I actually primed this on Friday, and tomorrow is a bank holiday, so I hope to spray it tomorrow. I've done the doors at the moment, and the door shuts. I had it running there 2 weeks ago, so I had it assembled, and then I stripped it all, suspension and parts off it. But yeah, it's coming along nicely. I'm happy with it. It's masked off now at the moment, but it'll stay that way now till I get it painted. I'm doing the painting myself. As I said, I've always wanted to try painting. I know I won't get it probably to everyone's certain standard, but I'd just be happy to get colour on it for this year. And hopefully I get it right. I have a friend of mine, he semi-retired now. He is retired, but he's kind of tutoring me, so he's going to be here with me while I'm doing it. And he has been yesterday as well. And again, as I said, I've had help from Michael and Peter Murphy and Sean Thompson with getting bits and information. And a friend of mine then has made the bespoke tank, water bottle, another stainless exhaust and stuff like that. So she has helped me out there. But yeah, it's, as I said, I've done. The plan is to I've sprayed the. As I said, there's that. Where is it now? There's the headlight. It's Irish Racing Green. Have the inside of the bonnet done. As I said, the doors are. The inside of the doors and stuff done. Can't really see it there now. It's a bit dark, but it's green. The outside and the inside. The doors done. The plan is to put the doors on it. And go from there. That's it. I think I have everything. I've just finished off a bit of wiring in around the dash area, connect clocks and stuff like that. But yeah. So that's the update. I've sent on some pictures to the lads. And there's nothing really more to say. Only I'm looking forward, hopefully, to getting it going. Having it out this summer after 3 years. Work and putting money into it when I build up a little bit of a fund and go from there. So yeah, we'll do a proper chat some other time. But as I said, I just said I'd send you on the video and just the gist of me and my TMC. So that's it. All right. Cheers.